Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial video. In today's video we're going to continue looking at some simple basic poses to help you guys with doing your fan arts or just practice, whatever it may be, whatever you're trying to accomplish. Just some really beginner friendly, easy to learn poses that will help your characters be a little bit more interesting while you're drawing them. We're going to use all the same rules that I've already gone over in just our, basic how to draw anime girl tutorials, but this time we're just going to be looking at those, bent in different, more interesting ways so you can see how the character kind of flows together. So in the previous one we looked at just a super simple kind of timid pose, but this time we'll make it a little bit more interesting. So she's going to be bent over a little bit looking at us, and the idea is to have her holding her hair to the side a little bit. So first we still want to start with our circle for the head, and I'm going to leave the head kind of big right now and add our center line, and then put in our jaw. Just going for a super simple jaw shape here, like so. And in this portion here, we're just kind of looking for shapes that we like. So the construction lines don't have to be perfect right now. Just trying to be placeholders. So we'll do this. Alright, from there, our character is going to be leaning forward just a little bit, not anything crazy. But because of that, the shoulder lines, like over here, are obviously not going to just be this same exact shape. So basically the easiest way you can do this is that if you just take your phone or you look in a mirror and you lean forward, you'll kind of see the shape that I'm going for here. I am going to make this on a new layer just so I can manipulate it freely, but basically how I like to do this is I like to still put in a center line just so I have something to kind of balance off of, like so. Now from there, rather than going through and drawing the ribs right now, which we could do, but I like actually starting with the collarbone. So depending on how far forward she's actually leaned, this shape will get more exaggerated. So since she's just leaning forward a little bit, we're just basically going to make a very slight V shape like this. And that is the collarbones. But then from there, we can have our neck kind of swoop in like this with our little necklines. And then the traps kind of come up to the back of the neck, like so. Now, the more forward your character leans, the more exaggerated that will be, to the point where for some it might even be that the V shape is like this, so it basically you just almost don't even see the neck, you just see it like that. But for this pose where they're just leaned forward a little bit, this is pretty much what we're looking for. Try to get these even here, and then from there is when I kind of like to figure out the ribs. Like this. Just because when I angle the collarbone like that, it helps me better visualize that she's going to be leaned forward a little bit. And so instead of having a super high line here for like where our ribs end in the front, we're actually going to bring that line lower, like so. We'll put in our shoulder circles like this, connect our pits to the chest, put in a guideline for our chest to fall, like so. And then again, I'm going to go to a new layer because basically as our characters lean forward, they're going to, like these parts that we're used to drawing, they're going to be stacked on each other. So like the head is going to kind of be stacked on top of the ribs, which are kind of stacked on top of the hips. So I like working in different layers. If you're doing this traditionally, that's perfectly fine too. You just have to use very light construction lines and rebalance as you go. It's a little bit easier to balance things digitally, of course, because you can just do a different layer and manually move it around if need be. So from there, since she's just leaned forward a little bit, her hips aren't going to be like pointed towards us extremely. There will still be some slight angle in them though. So we'll kind of angle these like so. Bring it back pretty much like normal with the base of it. And then the hip portion. Now, oops. I don't mind these hips being super close and almost tucking under the ribs right now, because again, our character, since they're leaned forward, the ribs are going to kind of be stacked on top of our hips anyways. So you don't need to really stretch this portion out. So just trying to get these looking at least semi-symmetrical here, which is a bit harder to do when I'm trying to keep talking and everything, so there's not just lulls in the video or something, but I'll probably just come back to that. But either way, we've got that. From there, just like normal, we'll still mark off the unmovable section of the hip, so all this, that's just bone and it's not going to move. From there, I'll go ahead and shrink some of this down just because, again, I want these to be full body tutorials. And so I want to be able to show the legs and everything too. And then I will shrink this head down a little bit too. Maybe not that much. A little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so from there. From here, we might as well connect our stomach. So when they're bent forward like this, we're not going to have that sort of stretched hourglass shape like what you see over here. Instead, what we're going to see is it's going to be a little bit more of these rounded lines, because when they're bent forward, their stomach fat is going to be kind of pressing towards us a little bit, and so it's going to give it more of a rounded hourglass shape than a just kind of tight one like that. Because you got to think about it, if you're stretching, you know, all of the meat right here is going to really stretch out like this, and if you bend to the side, it's really going to pinch. So when they're leaned forward like that, you kind of just have to keep that in mind, that as you bend forward and you sort of hinge right here at your belly mark, the meat is going to look a little bit differently here at the sides. So we're going to keep these kind of pudgy, kind of rounded, and then still connect them. And then in here we can add a little belly button mark, which I like to just go with kind of this swooping shape, so it kind of looks like that. So just do a little mark with that. And we can still, oops, let's do this. So we can still do our center line of the belly and then put in our belly button mark like that. And if you want to make it more detailed, you could always put in lines here to help further show that she's bent over, but for this we don't really need to do that. And then we'll add the belly fat lines here, and again, you don't have to add these if you don't want, but just for the sake of teaching, I think it's good to show them because that's how it looks. So put that there. And we'll bring these hips out a little bit. From there, I'm just gonna go for a pretty basic leg positioning again, similar to what we did in our previous one. So I'm just kind of making a V shape like this, just so this is kind of like the bones of our legs. And then from a sort of middle point, add some ovals for the knees, and then add some ankle points. You want basically this to almost be the same length as that portion there. So that's what we'll do. From there, on this inside line, we're going to tuck it in before we pop it back out and swoop back in. So we're going for like this shape right here. So we'll do that. And we'll give her a thigh gap here. Like so. And then I like to bring this, when a character is looking straight at me, I like to bring this inside leg line just wrap around the knees. And then from there, do our outside thighs, keeping the thighs at their thickest, pretty much right below the hips, and then swooping them back in. For our female characters, their thighs are going to be at the thickest right there. And we'll put that like so. And then just like our previous one, super slight concave line here. So slight that it basically is straight, but it just has a little bit of a bend to it. Then we can put in our calves like so. And then I'm going to do super simple feet here, because this is not a foot tutorial. Like so. Then we'll put in our ankles. I'm going to connect this foot a little bit better just because it kind of got away from me here. There we go. And over here, just going to bring this up. And then still see just the slightest amount of glutes poking in from behind. And then for this, oh yeah, so now for the chest, since they're leaned forward, they're not going to be quite so pushing against the ribs like they are over here. So they're slightly going to hang down, and we want to sort of accentuate that teardrop shape. So we kind of bring them down to a slight point down there, and then follow the armpit. So then the same thing over here. And just kind of mess with them till they look right. Since she's not fully, she's not leaned forward heavily, they're not going to be super exaggerated teardrops, but we still want to give them that shape. Just not quite so sharply. There we go. And then from there, we'll have it, so we'll give her a little smile, just doing super basic expression there. Have her ears. I'm just doing basic ear shapes here. Alright, so we'll have one arm behind, like so. But then the other arm will actually have up, so she's kind of like holding her bangs out of her eyes, basically. So what we'll do is I will start with the hand and then work from there. So first I'm going to give kind of this sort of, I guess it could almost be considered like a fan shape. And that's where all of our knuckles are. So this is our pinky, here's our middle, pointer, and, well, let's re-angle this a little bit. I want it to basically just be side on, so we'll do this. And I'll scoot this just a little bit out of the way, like so. And I'll bend her, I'll tuck her pinky like so, But then as we work towards the pointer, these fingers are going to be slowly opening till we get to here, where this finger is open. And then we'll see the thumb poking out along with the meat, like so. And then we'll kind of end the hand there. And then from there, we can work out how her arm has to bend to get her hand into that position. So for that, we'll have a generous elbow circle connecting here. And just following the sort of forearm shape, just kind of poke an elbow in, kind of make a swoop into a thicker portion here where the forearm muscles are. And now all we got to do is connect the bicep and shoulders. So basically when you get angled like this, it's going to be a little bit more involved than just dropping them in, over here, bent over, because now we've got this kind of coming towards us. There's going to be some very slight perspective here, and I will have some perspective tutorials coming soon, but for right now this will be a super simple look into it. So basically we just want to connect these portions here. So I'm basically going to take right under this elbow point, and I'm just going to use a slightly convex line. So I'm going to poke it out a little bit, and I'm going to connect that here, and I'll just kind of, so it kind of looks like this. It juts out, swoops in, and it connects to the armpit here. Now following this armpit line, we'll actually just continue it, and we'll add a slight bend there for the bicep, and then where our shoulder circle is, we're going to follow, we've got our collarbone, and it's going to have kind of an exaggerated rounded shoulder here, because since the shoulder is pulling up, it's basically doing the job of that muscle, and so it's going to be contracting a little bit. So it's not going to be as, gentle of a curve as we have over here. It's going to actually kind of be bunched up because the shoulder is pulling the arm up. So we'll have it like so. And yeah, there we go. So, and we can move this hand wherever you want. I'll angle it just a little bit more, just so that way it looks like she is just holding her bangs out of the way, is basically the pose that we're going for. Add this. So from here, I'll just, I'm going to enlarge my character just so she fills the page more, just because I want the, I want the finished tutorial page to kind of look nice. So I'll just move her right up next to this previous one that we did. And then I will put in the line art. So again, I'm not concerned about the quality of my line art for this. It's just a pose tutorial. So I'm just going to kind of do this quickly, just trace over. We sort of have the shapes that we like from the construction lines. So in this stage, I'm following the shapes we like, and I am sort of balancing and correcting as we go, and just kind of doing this to save time. Typically what I like to do on a actual piece I'm working on is I'll do the construction lines, then I'll take a step back, look at them. It's a lot easier to look at something objectively when you've had some time to refresh, as opposed to when you're still working on it or you just got done with it. So I usually will correct some of the balancing things before I start the line art, but I'm trying to work on this tutorial backlog here before I gotta start back up work, so I don't want to take up too much time because then I'm just not going to be able to do as many. So just basically following all these lines that we've been establishing through our construction lines. Come up here, do this draw, which I guess I'll do in 2 separate lines. Like so. The ear. And super simple ear shape here. Like this. Okay, well, this one got crazy looking. Then we'll connect the head here. Example why I don't like drawing bald characters, because it can be annoying to get the head to look right. But anyways, make this ear look somewhat symmetrical to the other one. Oops, give her a smile. Then we can put in our neck. So I like to kind of come straight down and then just curve kind of at the base. And then we can add our tenderloins. Then we'll connect. So this trap will be like so. This one will be a little bit lower because again, this arm over here is being pulled up, so that trap right here is also going to be constricting a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more bunched and tight than this one, which is kind of just stretched because this arm is more in a relaxed position. So we'll do that. From there, we can add this little belly line, like so. Add in the bottom of our hips, like that. And then this is a perfect time now to show where it's like, because our characters lean forward a little bit, we're not going to just see all of her midsection here. So instead it's going to kind of look like the hips are just coming out from behind the chest here. Which the larger your character's chest is, the easier that part becomes, because you can hide a lot more of what's going on under there, and it can make it a little bit easier. So keep that in mind. Then we want to swoop in our legs. Again, just kind of tucking it in on this inside part and then swooping it back out. And then over here, we're just trying to keep it so that basically these portions here are the thickest. And then from there, super slight concave line, like so, followed by the calf, like that. Just bring these down a little bit more. Super simple foot placeholders here. Like so. Add in our ankles. And there you go. So basically that's what we're looking for. Get rid of all these construction lines so you can better see. Looks like my hip section is a little bit off balance, so I can just quick change that for you guys. Again, it is a lot harder to walk through things and be able to catch little mistakes like that. So I'll just shift this over the tiniest bit. There we go, that's better. And then I'll just connect this. So, basically like that. Alright. Well, that basically does it. So this one, still super simple posing, as will everything in this sort of group of tutorials that I'm working on. Just be simple poses to kind of walk through. Hope you found this helpful. Hopefully this one's a little bit more interesting to you guys. With the arm being up and bent over and stuff, so it's a little bit different than what we've been doing. So hopefully you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.